So it's happening. We're getting a new hero for Marvel Champions, and it's Wolverine's clone. Hello and welcome to Nelson All Over Cards. I'm Nelson, and today we're going to be talking about our newest hero announced for Marvel Champions, X-23. We're going to be talking about her kit, what she does, really cool, some new aggression cards that she's coming with, and then there's a brand new card type that we'll talk about at the end of the video. There's a ton of really exciting things that are coming in this pack. It's all kind of crazy. There's a lot of stuff in this pack. That being said, there are timestamps in this video, so if there's something specific that you're looking for or you want to come back and look for the aggression cards again, timestamps are in the video. You can jump around in the video to exactly where you want. We are going to start out with talking about her alter ego side. So Laura Kenley was created as the clone of Wolverine, and there's a lot of similarities between these two packs, but X-23 does feel like a very unique and different hero. But let's talk about her alter ego side. So being a clone of Logan, she shares the same recovery of 6, she shares the same hand size of 6, she shares the same fact that you're going to put her claws into play, she has the same health, she has a lot of the same similarities. The claws do some stuff differently, and we'll talk about those here in a second, but also she does have an additional action on her alter ego side. It says you can either shuffle Honey Badger, the ally, her signature ally, or Sisterly Bond, which is an event from your discard pile back into your deck and draw a card. So now, this is cool because if you are able to do that, your hand size is 6. If you're able to shuffle one of those cards back into your deck, now you have a 7 hand size in alter ego, which is pretty significant. Also, these allies and that event is pretty critical to her kit, which we will get to here in a second. When we flip her card over, X-23 has a 2/1/2 stat line with a 5 hand size. She is X-Force traded and has a living weapon responsibility that states that after she takes any amount of damage, you get to ready her once per phase. Now this is once per phase, so this can trigger in the villain or the player phase, and we do have ways to hurt X-23 in the player phase. So outside of her kit, I immediately started to think of cards like Clarity of Purpose and Toe to Toe, where you take damage and then you get to ready her, X-23. She also has a couple other options in her kit, with the main one being her claws. This is thematically similar to Logan's, but mechanically very different. It's the upgrade that gets put into play during the setup and allows X-23 to take 2 damage, and then she gets +2 attack until the end of the round. So this adjusts her stats to a 2/3/2 plus a ready. So from a solo perspective, this is really cool because it's all about flexibility. You can thwart for 2, take damage from the claws, ready yourself, and then get to attack for 3. So that's pretty significant, but it doesn't stop there. There are other ways to kind of exploit what she's trying to do, and it all kind of revolves around her signature ally, who is Honey Badger. So X-23 thematically is very attached to protecting her sister, who is Honey Badger, and mechanically it feels like the theme and mechanics have a nice marriage here. Honey Badger is her signature ally. It's a 1/1/2 ally, which doesn't sound great, but it has a response that says after Honey Badger takes any amount of damage, this could be from consequential damage, you get to ready X-23. So we're getting very close ties between the signature ally and the hero here, which is something that we've seen a little bit in the past, but this is definitely the most that they've ever been tied together. And we'll talk about some more cards that do it. One thing to note here is that Honey Badger is an X-Men traded character, so she's not X-Force, which makes her able to interact with all the training upgrades and some of the X-Men supports like Utopia. So whenever X-Badger enters play, you can use Utopia to ready X-23 to get another activation, or all of those training supports that up her health, as well as some of her stats based on whichever aspect you are in, seem like it's going to be very, very critical to be running in her. But without those training activations, let's just look at her kit in a silo. We're looking at X-23 thwarting for 2, activating her claws to stand up and attack for 3. Then we can activate Badger and ready X-23 for another big swing. While they're both on the table, you have a lot of flexibility and a lot of damage that can be thrown out with X-23 and Badger. There are a lot of other cards that play around with this kind of symbiotic relationship. So we've already seen the alter ego ability being able to put Honey Badger back into her deck if she's in our discard pile so we can recur her. But there are other cards like Claw Mastery, which is a 1-cost event that states that X-23 gets +2 attack and overkill when Honey Badger is in play. So now she's starting with, after she takes damage from her claws, she has a 5 attack and overkill, which, ooh, I love overkill. Another one of the events that interacts with this relationship is Sisterly Bond, which adds X-23's attack or thwart to Honey Badger's power for a 0-cost event. Or Regenerative Longevity, which allows you to heal up to 4 damage from you or Honey Badger's identity for 1 cost. So this feels very similar to Regenerative Healing from Wolverine's kit, which is a 1-for-4, or remove a status card. So we're starting to see parallels between these two, which is very thematic because X-23 is a clone of Logan. But being able to keep Honey Badger on the table with Regenerative Longevity, being able to heal up, is going to be, I think, really good. Honey Badger does seem super critical to her strategy and can be a major game changer when she's on the table. So now let's rewind a little bit. Let's look at what our turn is now. So without anything outside of X-23's kit, we have a basic thwart for X-23 for 2. Her claws ready her, and she gets to attack for 3. Honey Badger attacks with a Sisterly Bond for 4, readying X-23 and attacking for 3 more for a total of 2 thwart and 10 damage. If we had played Claw Mastery now, that damage changes to 14 damage and 2 thwart, or 17 if we didn't thwart for that first activation. So we can throw down 17 damage, which is dumb. She is all about aggression, which makes sense because we're getting an aggression precon with her, and so we're getting a lot of ways to deal damage just off basic activations and her Honey Badger signature ally. She's going to be incredibly fun. I am so very looking forward to X-23. One of the issues with cards that are so critical to your strategy, like Friction Resistance for Quicksilver, Ant-Man Helmet for Ant-Man, is that we have the potential of that card being at the very bottom of your deck. And so if Honey Badger is at the bottom of our deck, are we going to be locked out of a lot of the things that we want to be doing with X-23? And we have an answer for that. That is a support called Sisterhood. This is a 2-cost support that says that we can exhaust it. We have to discard an X-23 card from our hand to search our deck and discard pile for a Honey Badger and add it to your hand. So now if you can get this out early, you're going to be able to recur a Honey Badger whenever you need to. Just face value, it seems a little bit expensive, but because Honey Badger is so tied to the strategy of X-23 and what she wants to do, I think it's going to be worth it. That being said, it does feel like there are kind of 2 ways that you can play the interaction between Badger and X-23. The first way is to just keep Badger in play and Voltron Badger. So add a ton of attachments, pump up her attack, pump up her health, have her being healed with first aids and med teams and however you can heal her, and just let her sit on the table forever. Or, because we have that Sisterhood support, we can kind of run a recursion strategy and kind of continuously put Badger back onto the table, and that way we don't need to be running a lot of the upgrades that would get discarded whenever Badger leaves play. The second way to play does seem like it could get a little bit expensive, which makes Grim Resolve a nice upgrade for her. So this is another one of her cards. It's a 1-cost upgrade that states that you can take 1 damage and generate a wild resource. This does allow you to ready X-23 if you need to do that. It gives you that wild resource, the resource generator, and I'm hoping we do get multiple copies. It does not look like we are going to get multiple copies because this is just actually worse than Clarity of Purpose. So Clarity of Purpose is a 1-cost leadership upgrade that says pretty much the same thing, but one little word is changed. Clarity, you have to deal damage. Grim Resolve, you have to take damage. So Clarity, the damage can be prevented with tough status cards. Probably don't want to do that strategically, but you can prevent that damage. That being said, the take damage for X-23 is probably not going to be the end of the world just because we do have a lot of ways to heal her. All of that being said, if I'm running leadership, I'm running both of these. Clarity of Purpose, Grim Resolve, 2 1-cost wild resource generators on the table for damage is something that I can easily offset with X-23 and the card pool that we have today. The other kind of interesting thing to think about with the Sisterhood strategy of bringing Honey Badger back over and over again is it has some really cool synergy with one of her cards called Pain Tolerance, which is a 2-cost upgrade that states that after you play an X-23 card, which would be Honey Badger, you get to heal 1 damage from your identity. So this could be any of the X-23 cards. It could be that X-23 card that you discard from your hand to pull Honey Badger back. It is just some synergy that you have, but also we have some 0 cost events. So now these events, or these cards that we're playing with X-23, get kind of even better, because now we're healing every single time we play a card. It is not limited to once per phase. You don't have to exhaust it. Every single time you play an X-23 card, you heal a damage from your identity. So now I'm starting to think about all of these like really low cost cards. We have a couple of the 1 cost cards, which we talked about, and we talked about the 0 cost card Sisterly Bond that adds your attack or thwart stat into the activation of Honey Badger. So now you get that benefit as well as a heal for X-23. And then the last card that we have not talked about yet is another 0 cost card called Puncture Wound. And I really like this card. I think that this one is a really fun card. So this card attaches to an enemy that has been attacked by X-23 or Badger this turn. It doesn't seem like it's going to be that hard. It looks like they want to be attacking, and so it doesn't feel like there's going to be a target limitation, if we can think about it that way. This card, it's a 0 cost upgrade that you attach to that enemy. It gives that enemy -1 attack. Then after the player phase begins, so like your next turn, you discard this card and deal 3 damage to that enemy. So this feels really solid, right? So you attack, you place it down for 0 cost. You get to heal 1. Now that enemy has 0 attack. So say maybe let's just say it's on the villain. The villain has -1 attack. At the start of your next turn, it deals 3 damage. So this is a 0 cost card for -1 attack, 3 damage, and a heal. That's some really good efficiency, and the only prereq is that you need to have attacked that enemy this turn, which does not feel like it's going to be that hard to pull off with all the readies and the multiple activations we have going into it. Also, I'll just say that it seems like a really fun card for Cyclops, because now Cyclops can blast because this is an upgrade attached to an enemy. So there's going to be some fun dual synergy there. She does come with a precon of aggression, but I think she's going to be a monster in pretty much all of the aspects. I think I'm going to most enjoy her probably in leadership, because with ways that we can bump Honey Badger's health with team training, reinforced suits, any ways that we can Voltron Honey Badger and increase her attacks, increase her activations, ready her up with like command teams and get readies and all of that stuff. We have ways that we can activate X-23 multiple times, because we get to activate Honey Badger multiple times. So anytime Honey Badger takes damage, we get to ready X-23. So if we attack with Honey Badger, and say we haven't even pumped up her stats, attack with Honey Badger, we get to ready X-23, and then we can use command team to ready Honey Badger. We can attack with X-23. If we have a team training, we have more health with Honey Badger, so we can attack ready. And it just seems like a very fun way to play. And leadership, I feel like, will tend and lean towards that very, very well. I think I'm going to enjoy that a lot. I think aggression is going to be really fun. We'll talk about some of the aggression cards. Protection seems really good, because protection has a lot of readies. If we're running with 3 or 5 attack with X-23, the readies get super, super efficient. Justice seems really good, just because Justice is Justice, and we have a lot of damage in X-23's kit. So in solo play, we like to kind of offset some of that damage with adding more thwart. We don't have we didn't see a thwart event in her kit. She has that 2 thwart stat, so she has threat mitigation that she can use, but Justice feels like it's going to be really beneficial in helping out, kind of the lack of thwart that she has. So she feels like she's going to be very well rounded in all of them. I'm really curious to hear what you all think about the heroes, or about I call them heroes because it feels like they're almost together, right? Honey Badger and X-23, it feels like they're they're both the hero. But I'm curious to hear what you think about her kit, what you want to play her most in. I'm really excited for this. I think she's going to be really, really cool, and just like a beast in solo as well as multiplayer. You can kind of build her really heavy into damage, let the other players take care of threat, and you can do some major damage. So I'm excited. I'm really pumped to hear what you all think. Let me know in the comments. and we're going to go ahead and talk about the aggression precon that she came out with now. I don't think it's a surprise that she came with aggression, just because she is the aggression character. She is out there doing damage, and so seeing red being paired with her is not really a surprise. But let's talk about some of the cards. We're getting 2 new red allies. We're getting Boom Boom and Richter. So these are allies that we have seen before in the Project Wide Awake scenario. Boom Boom is a 3-cost 1/1/2 ally that allows you to exhaust her and add a boom counter to her, and then you may discard her to deal damage equal to the number of boom counters on her to every enemy on the table. And so she seems a little slow on her own. Not sure how much play she's going to get in solo, but in multiplayer, or if you build around her, she's going to get a lot more interesting for the longer game, especially if that board is flooded with minions. So thinking like solo, Spider-Woman may like to be able to run her in like a leadership crossover to trigger the activation multiple times, where, you know, she has command teams and get readies, and we can just use Boom Boom multiple times and then clear pretty much everything on the table. I've already started thinking of some monthly challenges. We run monthly challenges in the Discord that I'm a part of, and I've already started thinking about some ways to use her in the monthly challenge. She seems fun, but I also think that unless you're specifically building around her, she may be a little slow, especially in solo. So kind of think about that. I like her less than I like Richter for solo. And so Richter is a 3-cost ally with a 1/2/3 stat line and a response that says after he attacks, you discard the top card of your deck. We've seen this mechanic very recently before, and deal damage equal to the minions, or to each minion engaged with you, equal to the number of resources on that card. So now that 2 attack stat line seems really good. We can attack the villain and then deal damage to the minions that are engaged with us based on what we flip. Usually that's probably going to be 1, but if we're running him in a domino deck, it seems like he could have some really fun synergy with her because she can count the wilds twice. So if we attack, discard a wild card, or discard the jackpot card, which is a 3, we get to deal 3 damage or 2 damage to every single minion engaged with us, and we can really start clearing these out. I don't think he's going to be something that we run in every single aggression deck, but he's going to be one of those cards that I think techs really well against specific scenarios. Ultron, clear him, right? If we have scenarios with a lot of minions like mutagen formula, it feels like he can be a way that we can handle a lot of those minions. Some of the other new red cards are focused around one of our new keywords called Assault, and this states that any basic thwarts against this scheme that has the Assault keyword, use your attack stat instead of your thwart stat. It's like Battle in Lord of the Rings and really can help out some of those heroes that have a lack of thwart. And so now we want to be running cards like Direct Approach. This is a 1-cost upgrade where you attach it to a side scheme and it turns it into an Assault side scheme. And so now one of the major issues that we have with characters like Hulk or with She-Hulk or Hawkeye, these characters that have very little thwart in their kit, we can run this because those characters also pretty much want to be running in aggression. Like they want to be leaning into their strength, which is their high attack. And so if we can figure out a way to get this in there, it kind of mitigates a lot of the threat issues that we've had before. We can throw Assault on a side scheme, use our basic attack to clear it, which is going to be significantly higher than our thwart. And so I like this card. It seems slightly expensive. I wish it was cost 0 so we could see kind of an Overwatch parallel. That being said, I do like it. I think it's good, and it's going to be one of those cards that, again, will be very good for specific matchups with some of these nasty side schemes that we haven't really been able to have an answer to outside of Justice or very specific leadership or deck builds with some of these very, very low thwart heroes. And then we are getting a new player side scheme called Keep Them Busy. This is an assaultable. I don't know. It's a side scheme that has the Assault keyword. It's a 1-cost. It comes in with 3 threat per player, and it says when you're defeated, you remove 3 threat from the main scheme. So I really like this one. You can put it out there. 3 threat per player means that Hulk can clear it in 1 turn. And because it is a chunk of threat removal, it's 5 threat from the main scheme, we can let it sit out there whenever we need it the most. So if we're sitting there with, I don't know, 1 threat on the main, we can let it build up to about 5, knowing that we have an on-call clear 5 threat from the main scheme. And so I think that this is going to be pretty significant for some of our lower thwarting heroes. In a multiplayer scenario, I am not 100% sure how frequently this gets to the table. There are going to be some parties that enjoy this where they're really focused on damage, and this is a way to help with that. But outside of solo, I'm curious to hear from you all. If you run more multiplayer games, do you think that this is a card that you will be running more or less? Because solo, it seems really good for specific heroes, but in multiplayer, it seems like it could almost be a detriment in taking up that side scheme slot. So I'm curious to hear what y'all think about this one. But solo, I like it a lot. Then the last new red card we're getting is called Now I'm Mad. I like this one. It's you have to say that. I feel like I say I like this one to every single card because I like all the cards. This is a 1-cost upgrade that states when your remaining hit points are less than half of your hero's starting hit points, you get -1 thwart and +1 attack. So if you ever play Slay the Spire, this screams Red Skull to me, which is, yeah, whatever. This is really fun because it feels like just like a kind of go face card, and you can put it out onto the table. You have ways to heal yourself, so if you get in a situation where you need that thwart back and you don't necessarily need the attack, you have cards like Endurance or First Aid or Medical Kit or whatever, or Medical Team, I'm sorry, whatever ways that you want to increase that hit points back up to above half the starting hit points. But if you get down, it kind of gets into this is the end game now territory where you can absolutely turn around and just start attacking. So now, like our She-Hulk, right? She likes to take damage. She has a lot of hit points. She has 15 hit points. She likes to take damage. She wants to get down to that lower health pool so that we can use Gamma Slams for its full potential. But also, now if we're at 7 health, we have +1 attack. Our attack stat is now 4 without any other modifications. And so there's just ways that you can play around with this, and I do think that it will be a fun deck build and potentially a new archetype, depending on if we get some more support for lower health heroes. Or not heroes, but lower health game states. So I think we could play around with that a little bit more, and I'm pretty excited for what that looks like. We're also getting a reprint of Moment of Triumph, which is a 0-cost event where we get to heal damage equal to the number of excess. I didn't even look this one up. I'm trying to do this from memory. The excess points of damage, we get to heal that amount, which is on par for what Psylocke needs to do. She wants to heal a lot. Not 100% sure how frequently she will be using this, because she does have a lot of ways to heal already in her kit. But I think this will be one that we will play around with and see if we actually need this in our kit. But it also is just really cool art, so I'm happy to have it. I think one of my favorite things about this pack are the new basic cards, which is saying something because I'm really pumped for the hero kits and I'm really excited for the aggression cards. But we get new cards, new basic cards that have the linked. I can't do quotes, dang it. We have the new linked cards. So linked cards are cards that are set aside and they're not put into play until the card that they are linked to is resolved. And so what this looks like is we're getting 4 of these linked cards, and they don't come into play until we clear the side scheme that they're linked to. Let me talk about them. These feel very similar to the Rise of Red Skull upgrades, which is really fun. We have the Combat Specialist. It's a 2-cost upgrade. It gives your character +1 attack, and then after they attack, they get to draw a card. And a lot of them follow this kind of formula. A Defense Specialist is very similar, +1 defense, and after they defend, you get to draw. Surveillance Specialist, +1 thwart. After you thwart, you get to draw a card. Very, very strong upgrades, right? Like incredibly powerful upgrades. And then Frontline Specialist, which is +4 hit points, and after you take damage from an attack, you get to draw a card, which I prefer so much more than just adding more to my recovery. And it feels like there's a tank that we could start building, and I'm interested to see what that looks like. But these are all out of play, and we cannot play them. We cannot put them into our deck until we defeat a new player side scheme called Specialized Training. This is a 1-cost, 5 threat per player side scheme. It says when defeated, each player who does not control a specialized upgrade chooses one set-aside upgrade and puts it into play. So in a 4-player game, 20 threat gets you all 4 of these upgrades, which feels really good. Solo play feels really good. You can either lean into what you're strong with. So if you are running a aggression deck and you want more attack because you're running quick strike, you can grab that attack upgrade. Or if you're using your attack events to deal the damage and you're kind of using that basic activation to manage threats, pull your thwart upgrade in. And you get to choose whenever you defeat this side scheme. So it could be a tactical decision as well. It does not need to be a decision that you make prior to the game beginning. You can definitely look and see where the game state is at to make this decision. I am really excited for this. I think this is going to be really interesting to build around, and it seems like you're going to want to get this out pretty quickly. 5 threat, probably not the hardest thing to take care of, especially if you've built around trying to figure out how to do that. And it just leads me to think that Cable is going to be a monster. We're getting so many side schemes that Cable can include. As a reminder, he can include side schemes from any aspect. This is a basic, so it doesn't really matter. And then he gets bonuses based on how many side schemes are in the victory display. And so we can pull these side schemes. We can pull this side scheme with his setup ability, clear it in a 4-player game, and just get everyone that upgrade with what they want to do. And I'm so pumped. This seems so fun, and I cannot wait to play a 4-player game with this, but also in a solo 2-player game. These are going to be really fun to play with. So those are all the new cards. I am so ready for November to come. I know we have to, I almost said get through August. Like we have to get through the next evolution box. That's not true. I am really excited for next evolution. These are coming in November. So we have August release. We have this with November, or actually August, September, October. We have the Angel and, oh my goodness, Psylocke coming in August, September, October. And then these are coming in November. So we are back onto that 2-month release schedule. We're getting the 4th hero that should be announced prior to that, which probably will be released alongside of X-23. I think a lot of people are, and it's probably safe to assume that will be Deadpool. And so November is going to be a lot of fun. We have a lot of content until November, but every single time I see new content, I just get more and more excited for that content. And I need to remind myself that we have some really cool stuff coming before it. We've been talking a lot already on Discord about this hero kit. So if you want to join in the conversation, I invite you to join the Discord. The link is down below. And I also want you to talk about it in the comments. What are you most excited for? Let me know in the comments, because I am pumped and I'm excited to share in your excitement of what you are excited about with this pack. Thank you so very much for hanging out. I appreciate you all, and I will see you around. Until next time, have fun, enjoy reading about X-23. Well, peace.